The general philosophy across the CUNYs, the 30 plus colleges that are part of CUNY, is to try to welcome, everybody into each class on an equal level, despite of any economic differences. And what that basically means is I don't feel comfortable expecting people to have their own computer. The thing that's really weird about that in any computer-driven class is how do you manage that once we go remote? In the past, it would have been simple. They would let you know, don't sign on for this class without this equipment. But this is a semester where no one had a choice. So it's gotten very, very complicated. I want to mention that last time I saw you, I asked anybody who needed a computer for this class to email me that day. Now that was last week, and I heard from one person, all right? And I congratulate that person for being proactive. Now, what that leads me to believe is that all of you here have already have a computer. Now, if not, you're going to follow the instructions that I'm going to repeat probably for the last time in a couple of minutes, right? I do want to add something though. This waiting room business drives me crazy. Can't they just have a revolving door? Before I was able to let anyone into this class, no password, no waiting room, no admission. It was just fabulous. I was like, look, if anybody wants to hack their way and sneak into my class, whatever, that was fine with me. And now all these securities have changed and it makes it much more complicated. I'm admitting people one by one, like a bouncer at an exclusive club. All right, so here we are. I think we're just about here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 people, still a couple more. All right, so here's what's on my mind right now though. So if you're sitting right now at a computer, and I mean a full-blown computer, Mac or Windows, right? I have a little less concerns about the next couple weeks. If you're sitting in front of a Chromebook right now, I'm a little bummed that I have to ask for your additional patience. And that's going to be a couple people in the room. So here's the situation. If you have a Mac or Windows, I'm hoping you already loaded Sublime Text, right? Now I'm going to talk more about this, but I'm going to switch right now to screen sharing. I really do hope I'm not going to have a waiting room issue while I'm screen sharing. That's why I'm delaying a little bit. But there's a link on today's handout where you download Sublime Text. It takes you right to Sublime Text where you can download it. Now, if you're sitting at a Mac or at Windows and you have not downloaded Sublime Text, I'm going to ask for you to do that now. Now, you probably already have the handout in front of you because you clicked it to come into Zoom, right? So on that handout, scroll through it until you see it mentioned Sublime Text. If you've not loaded already, do it while I'm talking. Get it downloading. We're going to be using it today. Now, I want to say something. I don't really want to call this an apology because really what I'm trying to do is accommodate a lot of different groups in the one class. Typically, day one, I demand that everybody download Sublime Text by the second class. That's what I do typically. I was uncomfortable doing that last class, though I suggested it, and that's why a few of you already did it. But I didn't demand it. And I didn't demand it because I felt uncomfortable. I didn't yet know how many people have the right equipment. And I asked for people to email me. Now the responsibility falls on the class. One person emailed me. I know that person's going to be slightly put out briefly. So I want to add something to it. If for whatever reason you're sitting at a Chromebook right now, you're going to have to take a lot of notes, right? And you're going to lean on the YouTube videos that I'm posting for this class, right? So that when you need to catch up and you finally get what you need, you'll be able to catch up a little easier. Najim, could you turn off your mic? Where I'm trying to get at is this. With Mac or Windows, the first program we're going to use is free. You just download it. So we have a little bit of time to figure out how to get to the other stuff. On a Chromebook, right, you can't download the software directly to the Chromebook. So Chromebook people are still stuck a little bit, and I hope only a little bit, until the tech department masters that last step. Now, I want to repeat something so everyone can hear me. We're all going to need remote access when we get to the Adobe software because it's not free, right? So everyone, regardless of what kind of machine, you're all going to need remote access. So I've arranged my class that we have time for the tech department to finish that part of the puzzle, how to get us that remote access. I hope I'm making sense. When it's not free, I'm not demanding you pay for it, right? So I'm waiting for this, the instructions of how we could get into the free stuff.
Professor, they actually granted access to Adobe apps. They gave free access again. I got an
Did they?
email. Yeah,
When
I
was
just
that?
checked just now. I think the email was sent out. Let me.
I got it too.
No kidding.
Saturday. Yeah, and I just checked it just now. I have the Adobe app downloaded on my PC, so everything is free again.
Amazing. That's just amazing. I'm exasperated that they didn't send that to me in the faculty. I've been compulsively reading all 4 of my email addresses, which is the teacher's life, waiting for that small, that I didn't expect. That's borderline miracle. That changes the map. Listen, folks, I don't want to overstep my bounds, but Aisha, thanks again for that insight, because now I have to follow up on it. Typically, I would have heard from the head of the department about that. Look, guys, I want to say the school's working overtime. Every teacher, every administrator, everybody's working overtime to make the best of this strange period that we still find ourselves in. That is a big plus for the majority of this class. Now, look, I do want to say something to anybody who's going to take the class on a Chromebook. You know what? Be heroic. Be brave. Don't at all be embarrassed. Your tour guide had no computer when I learned all of this. So I literally had to commute back and forth for class, for homework, as well as for my job, which was from 5 to midnight. And I was melting, and I was like, I'm never going to survive this. But as it turned out, I did, and I was working within the first year professionally, and professor very soon after. And that was without my equipment. So if you're stuck without equipment right now, be brave. Remember every detail of your story so you could be inspiring to people down the road and talk about how you succeeded despite that obstacle. So people with Chromebooks, again, feel free to stay in touch with me by email to let me know how it's going. The Chromebooks were offered this class. If you have no computer at all, it was on you to fill out the form and get that Chromebook and make an appointment to go pick it up. We were waiting for everybody to have access, remote access. So I got to say the last part of the puzzle isn't going to affect 90% of the class. It's going to affect a few people. Listen, guys, I want to say something to everybody. I'm going to wait for this last person to arrive. I'll have to say this again. My class starts at 1. So it doesn't start at 1 minute after 1. It doesn't start at 2 minutes after 1. It starts at 1, right? And I don't mean to be uptight, but it's a constant obstacle when people come late. In the classroom, I've known teachers to lock the door a minute after class or 5 minutes after class. So people get used to coming early, right? I'm not going to lock the door on anybody, but the equivalent would be not looking at people who need to be admitted late. This is the second class, so I don't need to come on heavy. Second class, some people registered late. I understand all that. But really, very soon, I'm going to be much less tolerant because we can't waste any more time. I'm constantly clicking this button like I'm a doorman or something like that. Well, it's a great job. It isn't my job, you know. Wow, this is still going on. All right, folks. The last part of the puzzle, and again, I don't want to bore everyone, so I'm going to need to tighten this up. If free Adobe access is working, and we all prove it out, that's going to be easier for most of you in the room. It's still not going to be easier for anyone taking the class on a Chromebook, because Chromebook cannot load software. I really want to be clear. Chromebooks are not really computers. As far as I can tell, they're like tablets with a keyboard, right? So they're not really made for full-blown programs. They're made for apps. That's how we call things apps as opposed to applications. An application in the slang nowadays means full program. Adobe Photoshop. An app might be like a mini version of it. So look, again, if you're on a Chromebook, the school still promised us this remote access, and I really hope they come through right away. I wrote my boss about it this morning. So here's where we're at. Today, we don't need anything Adobe, right? We need Sublime Text. I'm going to move right now into screen sharing. All right. And are you seeing my screen right now? Great. This I want to get right to this. Folks, I'm very anxious to get to actually making stuff today. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I do have to go over some stuff, so let's be patient. Folks, if this is your first time in class, be sure that you're on time going forward. I want to reintroduce this website, iraworks.com/BMCC. I want to say something to you all. I was, my daughter is taking class at Hunter, and I was looking over her shoulder as she's getting around to class, and I thought the professor was doing a great job, but it was very complicated. You have to go here to find what you need. You have to go here to buy stuff, here for lesson plans. That's never going to happen in my class. So if you have a bunch of classes, the only difference is mine's going to run from here, but it's one stop for my class. Everything is here. So iraworks.com/BMCC. This is our menu. The syllabus I'm not going over today. I'm going right to class 2. So this will be all the way down to class 27 by the time we're done. So I'm going to class 2. Everything you need is going to be on that day's handout. So this is going to become a reflex. Those of you that are already here know this, so I'm going to be quicker about it. This is going to be the same link the entire semester, unless Zoom changes something on me, which is very possible. So it's the same link to get to every Zoom conference. It could be 1 o'clock Tuesday, 1 o'clock Thursday, other than holidays. So I've said a lot about working at home just now, and I just want to say that this is a required survey, and it's still required. So I'm imagining everybody in the class already took the survey, unless you registered late. Be clear, this is required. And once I see, it does change people's grades if they're not doing requirements. And really, that's not the motive here. This school needs to track what's going on at this strange time so that we can budget correctly, purchase correctly, make sure classes like this run smoother and smoother. Everyone must take this survey. You can take it right after class if you haven't. I'm probably not going to mention it again. If you have no computer at all, so guys, listen, thank you for being patient. I really, at this stage, this should be nobody, right? So I'm going to have to stop talking about this very soon, right? But if you have no computer at all, for this particular class, the school has been offering Chromebooks. Again, let me repeat, you're going to need that and remote access, which are just steps to take, but you can't take them without the Chromebook. So if you don't have a computer at all, we can get you a Chromebook, but you have to click this link and follow these steps. I'm not going to bore the class because they're very well laid out right here, right? And I would like you to do one more thing, like I said the other day, right? If you need a computer, follow these steps by clicking this link, and then follow these steps to let me know. See, here's the thing. Somebody wrote me and said, oh, thank you for offering tech support. And I had to be clear, that's not really what I'm offering, right? I'm not tech support. I'm offering pressure on your behalf, where I could keep calling whoever's supposed to be doing this and saying, look, class is second week. This is an earnest student. They need their equipment now. I know that it's difficult, but this is Professor whoever, and pull the professor card and bully people on your behalf. But if I don't know you're having an issue and you tell me week 5 or week 6, it's too late. All right, so I'm going to close the subject right now. I wish I could help people individually during class time, but I'd lose everybody if I did. So if you need a computer, these are your 2 steps. B, C, right? Follow them through, and if you haven't done it yet, you must do it today. Everybody needs to fill out the survey. Folks, not to be cheap, does anybody have any questions about any of that I might be able to answer right now? No? All right, I'm going to insist you ask me questions soon. Once we get off the ground, this is all prep. I'm very excited for what I have in store for you today. So I wanted to say a couple quick words about software. As I've been pointing out, when you can get the software yourself, right, please do. If it's your own computer, Some of the software is free. About half the software we use this semester is free. So you're going to have this wonderful software on your own computer, right? It sounds like Adobe is going to offer us free access to their software. So that means you're going to be pretty darn set up. On the other hand, if you're using a Chromebook, a lot of this stuff is we're going to have to wait till I get the instructions for you about how to use remote access. So you could, from the Chromebook, get into the computers at school in the school lab. So this is what I want to say now, getting as practical as I can in a somewhat difficult situation, right? I'm starting with free software, partially to increase the number of people who can join me live. I'm videotaping everything, so anyone who cannot join me by working with me, they could watch, and when they're ready, they could always go to the video. So I want to skip over this for 1 minute. The videos are going to be at this link all semester. I did post yesterday's video for anyone who still needs to see it. That's class 1. If you ever miss a class, you are completely obligated to watch the video. You cannot tell me next week, oh, you know, I don't understand any of that stuff because I was absent. That's no longer an excuse, because the video is going to go up same day of every class. So we got a great backup now if anything happens. I'm just going to refer you to the video, which is a great luxury for all of us. For those of you who are stuck in that spot where you either don't have a computer at this moment, maybe you're taking this on a tablet or on your phone for the moment, let's be patient, let's have faith, right? I'm on your side. I'm going to keep on badgering the department to get you the access you need. But here's one good step. I want to back up to this part about software so that I don't overwhelm everybody. I just want to talk about what we need now. The number one thing we need now is this. Sublime Text. They're up to number 3 now. If you didn't, I want to ask you guys a good question. I promise you this is a free of charge question, just so that I know. How many of you guys already downloaded Sublime Text? So either show me by physically waving, yes. You could emoji me, you know, if your camera's not on, right? So that's fantastic. So that means I'm going to move right ahead. If you're sitting at a computer right now and didn't load it yet, you know, guys, life is overwhelming. I'm not going to torture you, right? Really, life's overwhelming. It's very hard to have missed something at the very beginning of the semester. Why not download it now, right? So for those of you at a machine where you can, follow the link that I just showed you. It's a live link, right? You could just click it. It'll take you right to where you need and download it. It's the Sublime Text client if it offered you other options. If it offers you any fancy options, someone sent me an email that had asked, oh, can you add this? Can I add that? And I just said, I've never seen those options, so just say no, you know. And we'll see if any of you added features that it offered you. Let me know over the semester if they were cool enough, right? If you're at a Chromebook right now, watch, join in, ask questions, but definitely take notes. Guys, I want to say one last, just plain old school thing, vanilla style school thing. Excellent students are always ready to take notes. So that's either with a paper and a pen or something on your computer, but you should always be prepared to take notes. In the physical classroom, if you show up without a pad or a pen, the teacher automatically knows you're not ready for college, just at a glance. It's almost like putting your foot up on the chair in front of you, you know? So let's go for success. All right, I'm gonna back up now. And I wanna say I am on the side of anyone who doesn't have the tools they need right now. Keep me posted on your progress. I do have to move forward, as you could see. A large number of people are ready for that. Okay, I wanna talk up chapter 1 of our class, MMP100. I know you're gonna like this because most people do. So I wanna share this with you. So the course is a number of subjects, and I weaned down from the last handout to just simplify the kind of multimedia things we're going to do. So of course we're working with text and images, and that's going to start with websites, which we're going to start today. You're going to actually make a web page today, maybe 2, that link. But animation, video, sound, other stuff are all part of this class, and they involve different tools. The grading is going to be a combination of participation and homework. And participation is going to be a little unusual for me to measure. I know who's in class. I will take attendance. I want to be honest. I am going to be more open-minded about attendance issues given today's climate. All right, so we're going to work through that. I'm mostly taking attendance, so I have a clue on who's here, which helps me know what you've already learned and what you haven't. People are having work issues or other reasons. They can keep me posted about why they're leaning more on the videos than the class. I do want to say, if you have the choice, take the class. You know, videos are great, but they're not the same as having an interaction with the tour guide, being me. All right, I want to talk up what we're about to do. We are starting web design, and we're going to have somewhere between 4 and 6 sessions devoted to web design, which is going to give you a real taste of what it's like to be a web designer, to learn that you can do it, which is going to surprise some of you who think it must be overly scientific. It is scientific, but it's very doable, and it's also very creative. So we're going to begin by today learning some HTML. Now, HTML is the language that you make websites with. And I'm avoiding saying it's a programming language, because what it actually stands for is Hypertext Markup Language. Now, you're never going to need to know that unless you're on a quiz show. Hypertext Markup Language. Now, hypertext means links, right? Markup language means layout. So if you were working for a physical newspaper or a magazine, you'd be learning how to use InDesign right now, because most magazines and newspapers, or textbooks for that matter, are designed in a program called InDesign, made by Adobe. But if you're doing it on the web, you actually do it with code, right? So the markup language, the markup part, is layout. So it's layout with links, and we're going to start learning that. Soon, we're going to add photos, which is going to involve Photoshop, which comes next. All right, I want to say, how do you prepare before you start writing the code? I would like for everybody to take note of number 3 on the handout. You could look with me, or if you're comfortable, of course, you could look at your own screen. I want to say something about folders. You know, if you're the kind of person that leaves stuff all over your desktop, I completely understand that. But when it comes to web design, you can't do that. The website won't work. So here's the number 1 rule for web design. Every website has its own folder. Every single website must have a separate folder. You could take 5 of those folders and put them in one called All My Websites, and that would still work. But as long as each website has its own folder, its own container, you're in good shape. And one of the reasons is the home page is always called this, index.html. And you can't have 5 of them, and you can't number them. Any folder can only have 1 document by a specific name. That's one of the reasons why every website needs its own folder. So this is what I'm going to ask everybody to do now. So let me be super clear, folks. If you're equipped, and most of you raised your hands, I'm expecting you to join me every step, right? If you're not equipped yet, you be patient, I'll be patient, and we're going to make sure to do our best on your behalf, right? So if you are ready, I want you to make a folder where you could easily find it. So now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make a folder on my desktop. So I'm going to go into my desktop, and I'm on a Mac. I'm going to hold down Control, which brings up a menu. So on a Mac, you hold down Control and click, you get this menu. On Windows, you right click. So I'm going to Control click, and I'm going to say New Folder. Just showed up, right? I'm going to call this class, I think I'm going to call mine actually, MMP100 dash class 2. Now, by the way, you can call the folder just about anything you want. As we move forward, I'm going to make recommendations, though, on what's best behavior for professionals. Right now, just about any name. And I'd like you to open that folder, and you need to keep this folder open for the whole class. Because the way web design works, all your parts are going to go in that folder, and you're going to need access to them. So I'm just going to put it off to the side where I could see it. The next step is to open Sublime. Now, if you loaded Sublime, I'm hoping that it's easy for you to find it on your own computer. On my computer, I have a shortcut down at the bottom here. You know, you can see that at the bottom. It looks like a golden lightning bolt, kind of, for S for Sublime. You could search your own computer to find it. Now, folks, I want to say something to you guys that's a little awkward. When I have a class of 20, 25 people, um, guys, I just want to quickly check that there's not anyone else still waiting to be let into the class, which is um, rather difficult. All right, let me just, nope, there are more people trying to get in. Folks, I'm just going to repeat, if you arrive late, do your best to just join in. You may have to watch. It is almost 1:30. Even second weeks, I'm not mad at anybody or anything, but let's be realistic. I need to get momentum for the behalf of the whole community. We are about to start making our first web page. I've asked everybody to make a folder and name it and open it. Here's mine. Here, I'm just going to try to organize this in a way where I could see everything we need. Here's my folder, right? And now I'm asking everyone to open up Sublime Text. Now, Sublime Text might look a little bit different for you than it does for me, only because I've messed with the preferences a little bit, right? You're probably looking at a black screen. Traditionally, people who like code like to write on a black screen. Don't let that throw you. What I'd like for you to do, though, is join me doing exactly this. You're going to type this. Oops, 1 second there. Now that's lowercase letters, right? And I'm going to go down a bunch of random lines, and I'm going to write something very similar. So before we move forward, I need to say a couple bit things about this foundation of web design. This is called an angle bracket. And you might remember this from high school math, less than, more than, right? In HTML, you use it all the time. If you're not used to that symbol, look on your keyboard right next to the letter M, and you'll hold down Shift each time you need it. This has got to be lowercase letters, right? Little letters, no capitals. I'll tell you when it's okay to use capitals, but when you're writing HTML, don't use capitals. When you're writing English, Spanish, a spoken language, use capitals when you want, but in the code, don't. Now, what does this mean? The top line tells the browser on the internet, so that's Chrome, Safari, all the browsers, that the language it's going to read is HTML. If you look at my line 7 right now, do you notice this slash? This slash means over. So you could say that this line says, hello, I'm HTML, and this one down here means goodbye, HTML is out of here, I'm done. So the entire web page goes between these two. Now, I want to introduce you to one of the concepts of how web pages are built. In between the HTML tag and the closing HTML tag are two sections. One's called the head section, and one's called the body section. Now, the head section, when you're new to it, is very small. Only a couple little things go in there. The body section, though, is the cool part. All the words, the articles that you're putting online, the essays, whatever, the poetry, that's all going to go between in the body section that we're going to make pretty soon, as well as the photos, the games, the movies. So two sections only. At first, a small head section and a big body. Let's try it out and see what that actually means. So here, I'm going to ask you to write head. And right after it, we're going to close the head section. Now I'm doing this on one line, even though this would work. And the only reason I'm putting it on one line, actually, I've changed my mind about that, guys. If you did it on one line like me, could you set it up like that? What I'm trying to say is the head section is going to be small, so there doesn't need to be a lot of room in there, right? There's one required element that has to go in the head section at a minimum. And before we actually make it ourselves, I want you to take a look at my browser for a minute. Do you notice, in a second here, do you notice how my browser has multiple tabs? Now this tab's got to say something, because if it doesn't and I had 5 tabs out, I would have to guess which one I want. How do I switch around? We're about to write the code that tells the tab what to say. So again, I'm double checking that everybody's here. Looks like there's nobody waiting to get in. Hey guys, can I ask you all a favor? It's a lot to try to communicate in a personal way with you and also do the demos. So what ends up happening is I miss a lot of chats. So if someone's microphone isn't working, they're going to be chatting me. So if you notice chats that need my attention, feel free to just say, hey, Ira, there's a chat for you, right? If it looks important, that would be helpful to me. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get back to the code. All right, let me just move things around. I move them around sometimes for the sake of the video, make sure that the videos are easy to see. So this opened this one section of the page called the head section. I want you to go in between those lines, and I'm going to tab over. Now, I don't need to do that, but that helps me recognize the element we're about to write is part of the head section. It's in that drawer. It's in that section. And this is called title. And we're going to keep it simple. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm used to making it huge because in the classroom, I want the people in the back row to see it. Now everybody's in the front row, so I guess I don't have to do that. So, this isn't title the way people usually use that word, right? This is title meaning just the tab. Only in a few minutes, you're going to see what it actually looks like. So this is a very small head section. We're about to start the big one, the big section, which is called the body section. So I'd like you to go to line 5. You're almost ready to test this. There's the body. And the body also needs to close. So this is what I'd like you to do. I want you to go as far down as you can, but not past that bottom tag, not past the closing HTML tag. So this is what I'm looking for. So here's my body section. It's in there, nothing's interrupting it. It's tucked in. Now I want to say something to you about all this. What you just learned is called, I call, the 4 biggies. HTML, head, title, and body. All right. HTML, head, title, body. Now, pretty soon, if you're liking this, and you'll know within a couple days how you feel about it, this will be memorized. These are the 5 most fundamental tags to make a web page. With this, one could make a web page with this alone, right? It won't be gorgeous, but it would be a web page. I want you to join me by going between body and close body. So here I am on line 6, and I want you to write a simple sentence. Now, this is the most basic web page you're ever going to see, right? And what we're going to do regarding that is we're going to save it properly. And there's only one proper way to save it. And then we're going to see if it actually works in a browser, right? So first off, have a good look with me so you could check for a couple things. The first line has to say this, right? Without capital letters. The last line, the very bottom, must be the closing version of that tag. So it has the slash. Once you know that's there, let's double check that the head section is correct. So right after the opening HTML tag comes your head section. I have a 3-line head section, and yours should look just like mine. Head opens, it's got here a slash, meaning it's over. Anything that lives in the head section has to go between the head section and the closing head tag. And we have one element in there, which also has an opening and closing tag. This is English, so I was allowed to use capital letters in here. The rest is code. If the head section's looking good to you, double check the body. Follows the same pattern. Body, a few lines down, it closes. And in between, we pretty much put whatever we want. Let's save it and see if it worked, all right? So everybody, you could do File menu save, or you could do Command S on a Mac, or Control S on Windows. So I'm going to use the File menu save. Now there's a few very specific rules. Don't save without me, right? If you save without thinking, it's going to have this bizarre name, which won't work on any computer. So what you have to do is name it like this, index.html. So let's be clear. I'm not clicking the save button yet, right? That's only half of what I need to do. The only proper name is index.html. Now listen, it's first week of school, second week of school. Some people may be overwhelmed. Don't be. If this seems like a lot, it's going to seem simple pretty fast. Index.html. Here's the next step. You have to save it to your folder. So I'm on a Mac, and the way I'm going to save it is this. I made my folder on the desktop. You saw me do that maybe 20 minutes ago. So I'm using this thing called the sidebar, and I'm going to click desktop. And right now it's showing me everything on the desktop. Here's the folder that I made for today. I'm going to double click that to open it. Now here's the thing. Some of you are on Macs, some are on Windows, some are on different operating systems, different Mac operating systems, different Windows operating systems. Very hard for me to tech support how to save something. If you're having a hard time with that, I'm afraid you may need to get tech support online. Search, how do I save a document on Windows? But this is what you want to see. The name index.html and the name of your folder. I want to say one last thing. Every page is going to end .html, but the home page, and only the home page, is called index.html. Any other page has all kinds of names. If yours looks the same as mine, click Save. Now, the first thing you should be seeing is your colors in in Sublime Text should have changed. They're not going to match my colors because that's just a personal preference, but there are colors there. And it's trying to show you which is the HTML and which is just plain old English. What I want you to do next is find your folder. So it gets a little messy. And in your folder, you're seeing index.html. All right, folks. There's more than one way to open it. I want to show you the way that I'm going to recommend today. Go to your browser and open up a new tab, a blank tab. Both Mac and Windows lets you drag and drop. So what I'm going to do is I got my folder where I could see it, and I got the browser where I could see it with an open tab. Look what I'm going to do. I'm grabbing it, and I'm dragging it, and I'm just dropping it right in my browser. I'm in Chrome. If this worked, feel great. If this didn't work, don't feel bad. You just got started. Now, I want to point out a couple things before I ask anyone if they need a hand. Right? First off, your title tag created what the tab says. So please look at the tab, right? And is it saying what you expect? Mine says my first page because I wrote that between title and close title. Nice. The body has all the cool stuff when you go to a website. You know, you go into Craigslist, everything there is between body and close body. You know, you go into Netflix, everything there is between body and close. So that's the section we're going to work with the most. Right now, we just have one simple sentence. If your sentence is showing up, we're in good shape. Now, guys, don't be shy. I want to ask you, if it worked, either give me this kind of thumbs up or an emoji thumbs up, right? Bravo. Hey. You're all web designers. That was fast. Yes, instant web designer. Okay, naturally, once you see that that is not rocket science, you know, the next questions are sort of obvious, like, well, I want to lay it out. I want to look like a real website. And how do I change the font? And how do I change the colors? And then how do I get my photos in there? And we're going to move through all of that, actually, everything I just listed. And a little bit more, right? We're going to actually start now. Now, folks, I want to bring the code up, though, for anyone who doesn't have it working, because the most likely error, if it's not working, is messy code. So I want to just say a couple quick words. That's everything. Now, the code, including what we're about to learn, is on today's handout also. Not only is it in class, not only will it be on today's video, but it's also on today's handout. So I offer a lot of transparent support, so to speak, support when I'm not even there. But what you've got here is the 4 biggies laid out properly. The HTML tag, the head tag, the title tag, and the body tag. That's the minimum, and we already did that. And they go in this order. Now, if yours isn't working, don't be shy. Don't feel, the weirdest thing about these Zoom classes is you're used to the physical room where the only person you actually look at is me. I'm the only one facing you. And are you all facing each other now? Is the layout the same, or am I a big box and a couple of students to the side? Anybody, turn on your mic. Do you typically see the whole class when you're taking a class?
Yeah, I see it.
No, not really. I just only see a few people from the top.
Really? So it's
Yeah. Yeah, I only see you and a select few other students.
Yeah, so what did they do to deserve that honor?
I honestly don't know. If they talk, they pop up.
That's true, and that's pretty handy unless like you put a glass down heavy, and then I'm like, hey Joe, why did I hear? And it's just that, or the dog barked. But essentially, it does make people shy when they need a hand, But I have to tell you something. You're all going to need a hand, right? So whoever breaks the ice and asks early makes other people feel comfortable doing it. Did anyone who has the equipment today not get it to work, or is everybody seeing it already in the browser?
All good.
All good.
I couldn't get it.
What's that? Good?
I couldn't get it because I have like the Windows, so I didn't know how to save it.
Windows, Jerson, Jerson, do you have a camera? Because I really would like to inspire you and everybody to have their video camera on.
Same here with Windows.
Right. Saving is just saving. So are you used to using a computer in general? Do you save documents on a computer? Because
Yeah.
you do. So did you make a folder today?
Yeah.
And did you open the folder to see if your document's in there or not?
No, I didn't know how to put it in the document.
All right, so I want to go over something, folks. Everybody, here's the deal, right? I'm going to open up another document just for a minute. If I wanted to save that, right, of course, I'll go to File menu, Save. But here's the thing. Don't ever just click the Save button. That's like, oh, I won $1 million. And guess what? I saved it. I'm so good. And then I say, where did you save it? And you're like, I don't know. Then you're just as poor as we are today. You always got to know where you save stuff. So here's the lowdown. I'm going to ask you, Jerson, specifically. When you're in a save window, do you see a sidebar like this?
Yes.
Right. So on your sidebar, I guess you made your folder on the desktop, or do you know where you put the folder?
Yeah.
So then here's the trick. When you save something the first time, look on the sidebar and go to the desktop first. Then it shows you a list of everything sitting on the desktop. You should see your own folder there. When you see your folder, double click it. So if I click now, I'm saving that.
Oh, okay. I see.
Listen, don't be embarrassed. I got to tell you something. I'm going to cancel mine, right? Because I don't really need this document. But I got to say something to everybody in here. I know some of you are super advanced, right? I think I have at least one person who builds computers in the room, and some of you guys learn programming and elsewhere. When I learned this, I had a master's degree, right? But I'd never been on a computer, right? So I went in the room and where I'm learning this computer thing, very similar to this class, and the teacher asked, and she was kind of appalled that I didn't know how to use a mouse. So I had to take a lot of notes that day. And after class, she picked my hand up, showed me how to move the mouse over, showed me why the mouse pad was so small or the monitor was so big. I'm not kidding you. That's how little I knew. But I was so fierce about learning, so fierce about it, that not only did I learn how to use a computer, but I was an art director same year, the end of the year. And yeah, I'm proud of that. I'll admit that I'm proud of that. But I tell you the story just in case any of you are behind the curve. Jerson might be an expert on the computer, just not on saving, right? So there's just one little thing. But one thing everybody in here, always know where you save. Anything elaborate made on the computer is going to require that you know how to do that. But web design is the worst. Things will not work when they're saved into the wrong place. They just won't work, right? I do want to apologize that I won't be able to spend a lot of time tech supporting that kind of thing. I can do a little today, maybe next class, but after that, you know, we're going to have to just move at a clip. Yes, Yulene.
Hello, Professor. I want to ask why there have some space before the title.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I want to tell you why that is. When we get more advanced, we're going to put more things between head and closing head. For example, there's a fancy way to borrow beautiful fonts from Google. It's called Google Fonts. And if you learn how to do that, it's another line of code between head and closing head. There's many cool features one could add. And you know the way to look at it? You know when you drive a car, you might not know what's under the hood. Like I could drive, but I don't really know what's under the hood. The head section's the hood. All the things that are hidden live in there. So what it's going to wind up looking like is this. There'll be another line, whatever, and another line there. But by the fact that they're indented, I'll never lose fact of where I put them. I can easily see they're between head and closing head. So in short, this would also work, but it's just sloppy. Does that help? Okay, cool. I like questions. It makes this much warmer environment. I want to show you something the next leg up though. So you made yourself a website, but you know, frankly, it doesn't look too cool. Just a little sentence there. So I want to take this a little bit further. How do you make an edit, right? So this is how editing works. I'd like for you to get back to Sublime. And I want you to take the sentence out. I want to tell you something. What you got here could be copied and pasted for any number of web pages because they're all the same until we get more advanced. You'd probably change this part that goes on the tab. But other than that, it's copy and paste. So what I want you to do with me is this. Between body and closed body, let's make ourselves some extra room. You know, random amount. And, you know, take out whatever was in between. And I want you to try this tag with me. Oops. And close that right away. Now, the body section gets very big. And what goes inside of it is headlines and paragraphs and art and stuff. And they all have their own tag that usually opens and closes. What does this mean? This means I'm the biggest headline available. This means I'm done with that headline. Now, how do you see it? Now, here's the good news, and this is for Jerson and for everybody here. Once you know it's working, you don't have to save in any fancy way. You either do File Menu Save, and it just saves, or you do Command S, you don't even go to the menu. And if you're on Windows, Control S. Now, you're allowed to do that after you've saved once properly. The first time you tell it where to go, you know what folder to go to, but after that it knows. It knows where you're saving. So you just save a lot. Now if you just saved, what you're seeing over here in Sublime is a little letter X. If you didn't save, it's a gray dot and you need to save now. So it's going to have the same name and it's in the same folder. All you do is save, go back to the browser, and click refresh. That's the big headline. I want to ask you, did your headline show up? Now, what's going to happen after today, maybe next class, you're going to see the patterns. You're going to be like, oh gosh, it's the same kind of ideas, just new tags to make new things happen. So we're going to try a couple more tags right now that work together as a team. So I'm going to go right back to Sublime. And I want you to go underneath the headline. And I want you to try an H3 with me. We're going to make this more interesting by using real topics soon. And now you know, this gray dot that I'm seeing here means I haven't saved since I made the change. Every time I make a change, this goes gray to tell me I better save it. I like doing Command S a lot, but anyone can go File, Menu, Save if you don't like the shortcut. Turns into an X, and you simply go back to the browser and refresh it. A much smaller headline. Sorry guys, clicking around. I'm just wanting to be able to get at everything I need quickly. There we go. So, how many headline sizes are there? And are they glued to the sizes you're looking at right now? So here's the first answer. There are 6 flavors of headline. H6 is so small, you'd have to be an ant to see it as a headline. Technically it's a headline, but it is really, really small. I never really use it. I honestly hardly ever go beneath H3 because H3 is not really that big. You know how to make headlines now. If you ever want to play with all 6 just to compare them, you know, H2 is fine. I skipped it just to point out that you don't have to go in order. Second question I asked myself was, is this really the biggest they get? No. So let's stop for a minute. HTML used to work alone, and it was very limited in how good it could look. To be honest, it was kind of ugly. But then, maybe 15 years ago, this new thing came along called CSS, and we're going to learn some of that also. CSS is the killer stylist. So those of you who are art types and designer types, you're going to need CSS because I happen to like really big headlines. They get people's attention, right? And I can't do that with just HTML. So either on Thursday or Tuesday, we're going to start learning some of that so we can have some design control. Right now, I want to introduce a paragraph to you. I'd like you to go underneath that headline and introduce the most common tag on the internet. That means paragraph. Now, I want you to do something weird with me, and I hope this is going to work at home. You know, I need dummy text. And if any of you, it's just too hot to be wearing teacherly shirts right now. All right. Dummy text is always a problem when you're learning about design. You have to get words from somewhere. When someone is writing gibberish and tries to learn about typography, they really can't. They need capitals at the beginning of sentences and periods at the end, spaces in the right places, or you can't learn to design. So there happens to be the world's most popular dummy text built into many programs, including Sublime. I want you to join me on this. Right after the P tag, I'd like for you to, make a space and close the P tag. Now let's be clear, we're going to put the paragraph in here. I don't know how long it's going to be, right? So I'm not hitting return or anything. Here's the P tag, here's the closing P tag, just click in between them. Now, if you had a writer working for you, you'd go get their writing and you'd copy it and you'd come here and you'd paste it. And we're going to try that later, but right now, can you please try this? Now this is weird looking. I want you to type those letters, it's Latin, and then I want you to hit your tab key. If you missed it, you type these letters, and it can't be a capital. This will not work, right? L-O-R-E-M, and then hit tab. Now, before I go into any explanation about it, did it work? Gotcha. So I want to say something about it. Very soon, you're going to want real words. If you start to enjoy this, right, you're going to be like, let me at the real stuff. Enough of this game, right? Right now, we're doing what old designers do. We're learning with dummy text, right? Now, this dummy text is Latin, right? And it's the most popular Latin in the world. I'm kind of curious, has anybody seen this before? It's called Lorem Ipsum. A couple people, right? So I have to say, if you've done any design in high school, another college, or you just read up on it, everybody uses this. I don't know how that got started, but you might want to know what it means. Are you ready for this? It's an exorcism. So if you know anybody who's possessed by a demon or a devil, surround them in candles, and read this. I'm completely making that up. That is so not true. Don't quote me. I gave myself 60 seconds. It just makes me laugh for some reason. You know, actually, I did look it up because I wanted to know what it really meant. And it's a goofy article from the Middle Ages about what's wrong with pleasure. Between you and me, pleasure is good, but this article doesn't think so. Anyway, I want you to join me on something before we test all this out. It's not really enough text. So could you highlight that lorem ipsum, all that Latin? Highlight it. Now, I'd like for somebody to turn on their mic and shout out, what's the shortcut to copy something to memory?
Control C.
Control C. And if you're on a Mac, that's Command C. Everybody needs to know copy and paste because everything uses copy and paste. So I'm going to do Command C because I'm sitting at a Mac. And if you hate shortcuts, you could go to the edit menu and choose copy. And you'll see near it, it actually tells you the shortcut because it wants you to learn it. But either way, then I want you to click at the end of that Latin text and paste. Paste is Command V. V like Victor. You know, it's a decent question. Why is it V? If you look at the keyboard, C and V are next to each other. So it's copy and paste, very convenient, just because they're next to each other. So I'd like you to paste it. Once you've copied it with Command C, you could paste it as many times as you want. I'd like 3 times the original text, so I'm pasting it twice. Listen, by the way, it doesn't really matter if you have the exact amount of text as I do, right? I just want a lot. Or if you got a bunch of Latin there, just save it, right? Control S or Command S. Make it back to the browser and refresh it. This is starting to look like a real website. Not a pretty one, but a real one, right? I like to make fun of Craigslist because it's kind of ugly for such a popular website. You know, if you look at Apple or Microsoft, they're kind of nice looking websites. Craigslist, unless they upgraded recently, was pretty damn ugly because Craig didn't really care about design. He had a different goal and amazingly succeeded. If it's still as ugly as it was last year, he should just hire someone at this point and make it look better. So we're off the ground. I would like one more paragraph. If you want to make it yourself, you go right ahead right now. If you want to just join me step by step, I'm going to do it also. So I'm going back to Sublime. And to make another paragraph, you go underneath the one you just made and you make a new P tag. So I don't forget, I'm going to make the closing tag right away because I really can't forget that. It's going to break the page. Each paragraph is separately wrapped. Then you go in between. If you were typing your own story, you would just get busy typing. But usually you'd probably go get someone else's story, copy and paste. Right now, I think I'm going to use Lorem again. So I'm going to write L-O-R-E-M. Right, that's just a trick that Sublime happens to have. And I'm going to click Tab. You know, I would like a lot more text, and just for convenience, I'm going to copy this stuff and paste it a couple times. Because I want a bunch of text in there. Command C, anytime you want to copy something new, click just after it and paste. Or paste again if you want even more. I want to back up a little just so people could see my whole page for a minute. You'll notice what happened was we built the main page right away, which we're going to do more than once together. And it looked like this when we got started. There was really not much there. This is the ground. And then we started building it. First, we put in a big headline. Then we put in a small headline. And then we added a paragraph, which closed, right? Here it is, closing. And then we started a new paragraph. and the new paragraph closed. But notice this is the bottom and it has to stay that way. The body closed and then the whole page closes with the close HTML tag. All right, save whatever you have, make it back to the browser and refresh it. I'm trying to look at the faces of people with cameras on just to see if people still look reasonably happy. All right, reasonably happy. All right, that's pretty cool. Guys, I do want to say something to you since, you know, I've been very anxious to get some momentum with the class. I really want you to understand that this class is typically a thick one, you know, not in the sense like worry about it, there's so much stuff, but, you know, to be excited about. We're going to learn all kinds of different things. You know, it's like if you're a musician, maybe you know how to play some guitar. Wouldn't you love to spend a couple days just trying other instruments with someone who could make that possible? You know, so in a sense, this class, we're going to try a lot of different instruments. I'm going to spend a while on this one though, because it's pretty rewarding and very important at this moment in time. Does anybody have any questions based on what we just did? I'm even looking at my chats here. You could wave at me, you could turn on your mic and shout out since nobody's saying anything. You guys are good, huh? All right. All right. So let's go over a couple things just to clarify what you just did. So let me start. Here's rule 1 for someone who wants to web design. You always have at least 3 things out and in front of you. Here they go. The folder. Remember how you drag the page out of the folder to see it? We may, if something breaks, you know what I typically do? I want to show you guys something. If one of my pages doesn't update, I keep clicking refresh and nothing happens. One thing I do is I'm going to go into my folder. Oh, wait a second, somebody's waiting to get in the class even now. This is terrible. I let her in. Okay. What happens is you've got, let me get to my folder, guys. Excuse me. I had a lot of stuff out. I go to my folder. One thing I love about folders is all kinds of things I could check. Like check this out, for example. My folder here is telling me that it was saved at 2:01 and it's now 2:04. But what if it said 12 o'clock? I'd know something went wrong. I'm like, well, that can't be the document. You know, I must have saved it to the wrong folder, right? Which happens to a lot of people. That's why I'm making a big deal out of the topic. So you always have the folder out. You can go in and check that your stuff is there. All right, so you need 3 things out. The folder, the text editor, in this case we're using Sublime, and a browser. So I'm going to clean up after myself. And I just want to make a small couple of points. These are the 3 things. And you know, one of the things that's a little ungainly is it's messy. It's really messy. And at some point when you're using photos, Photoshop's going to also be open. And now you got a 4th thing. And depending on your appetite and your imagination, there may be other things that have to be open. But this is the minimum, 3 things. I want to go over them. It's only the 2nd day of class. So I want to say a little bit about our choices. Sublime Text is one of hundreds of programs that can do this. Literally hundreds of programs. I want to tell you why I chose Sublime Text. I've got 2 main reasons. One, it's essentially free. That's cool. 2, it's probably the most popular code editor, which means after you learn HTML, if you want to learn JavaScript, in fact, we're going to try it together. You could also write JavaScript in this. So it's like Microsoft Word for code. So it's taught in almost every school I've ever been in using the same program. I want to say, though, that my class is not in Sublime Text. That's not the subject. The subject right now is HTML. So say you lost Sublime. I would tell you to go get Brackets. It's another free one that I really like. And if Brackets broke, I'd come up with a 3rd one. Because once you know a language, you don't care what kind of typewriter you're on. You know what I mean? A good writer could write as well with a pencil and with a pen and with a computer, right? So we're using Sublime because it's convenient and it's free. I want to say something about Chrome. So I keep saying Chrome, Chrome, Chrome. Now it's not Chromebook, it's Chrome the browser. I want to show you guys something, and you don't have to join me on this. I just opened up Firefox because I want to make a point. Would this work in Firefox? Well, I can go to my folder, drag it out and see. And it looks just about the same in Firefox. Some differences, but not anything big. So why am I suggesting you use Chrome? I'm going to put this one away. For a couple reasons. There are small differences between the browsers. The companies that run them fight. And the way they do it is sometimes some new code comes out, untested, unproven, and one browser supports it right away. And if you're in that browser, you could see that stuff that fancy code produces. But if you're in the wrong browser, you can't. And that's just messy. They have other little differences. Buttons look different. Margins, that little bit of space you see next to your text is different. And it's going to be confusing in class if we all use different browsers. So this is what I want to say. I'd like you to use Chrome. Chrome is free. You could download it for free anytime you want. Do a search, free Chrome, download. But if you don't want to, you want to use Safari, you want to use Firefox, you want to use others, I'm okay with it. If there's trouble, you let me know, right? Chrome's going to make it easier because if we need to use Chrome, like go into its preferences or something like that, I can't do it for every browser. I'm only going to do it for one. Does anybody have any questions about the software regarding either Sublime or the browser? No? Listen, I want to say something to those of you who are late today. I'm not mad. Life happens. You might have withdrawn from a class and then gotten into mine, which is sort of a miracle because I'm sure there was a long waiting list. So if you managed to get in, that's great. You're very welcome in my class. Don't be late again, because it's disturbing. And I typically start teaching right away, right? I delayed last week, I delayed this week because we're getting our momentum, but very soon I'm gonna start right at 1, right? And I can't be admitting people separately, right? So right now I am taking attendance with a screenshot, right? You're all present, right? Please don't use nicknames. Tariq, I think you're the only Tariq, so I'll find you. In other classes, you might want to make sure you got your first and last name, just so the teacher doesn't lose you. David, you know, same for you. On your boxes, you know, figure out if you can how to change the name. All right, I want to get back to it. That went so well, and we have enough time. I have a goal. I want to upgrade the page so it feels more like a real website. And I want to add another page to the same website. Now this page has been saved as index.html. That means homepage. So I want to share something with you about that. My own website is iraworks.com. On your own, if you ever want to visit, you can. iraworks.com/BMCC is our school, but iraworks.com is my own private website. And it's about 70 pages. So that basically means if someone types in that address in a browser, the request goes to the internet. And when you type an address, it's considered a request. So it goes to the internet, it finds its way through the magic of the internet to my host. Now a host is the company that stores a bunch of websites. And your address knows where to go. So someone types in the request, it goes to my host, it finds its way to my folder. Yes, a folder. Again, why I'm all picky about folders. And then it has to figure out which page goes first if there's 70 pages in the folder. How does it know? It looks for index.html. So that's the one holy ground page where you can never improvise on the name. Index.html just means homepage. Okay, let's get back into Sublime and try some other stuff. Now, back in Sublime, folks, again, if you were late for class, just try to watch, don't be disappointed. You could watch the video later from the beginning and start over. I'll talk more about all that at the end of the class. So right now, here we've got this code, and we've got an H1. So I'm on line 6. You might also be on line 6, but that doesn't matter. find your H1. I'd like you to change the big headline to this. Animals of planet Earth. So notice I didn't break the H1. It's still got its brackets. And on the right, it's still got its brackets and this, which means I'm done. If I break this, the whole page will probably be big like a headline. This is what closed it, lets it know that headline's over. I want you to go to the H3. Remember, H3 just means third size, right? It doesn't mean third headline. It means we skipped one optional size. So I'm going to take the H3, the smaller headline, and I'm going to say something about animals. So I'm going to write, diversity of life on our planet. While we're at it, let's change what the tab would say. Now, remember, our tabs currently says my first page, and that's because we put that here. The question becomes, do you want a different tab for every page of a website, or should they all share one? There's good reasons for both, but it's easier to have one shared tab. So I'm going to write up here, animals of Earth. I'd like you to save this. So remember, it should already be saved. So you're just saving changes. The rule goes, make a change, save a change. This gray dot means my change has not been saved. So I'll do Command S or Control S. This X shows up. Now I want to say something about this, guys. This right here, I've been avoiding this subject, but I want to say something right now. What is this? Hello, thanks for trying Sublime Text. Have any of you guys gotten this yet? You will.
Yes, I get it.
So what this means is they want you to pay for Sublime Text once you're satisfied that you like it. That choice is going to be up to you. Definitely do not pay for it this semester. If you find yourself loving it and you want to support these wonderful people, at some point you click purchase and you'll buy it. Now, all you have to do is click cancel and you're good. You could borrow this for years if you want. Right? So it's free-ish. Sort of free. All right. Make sure that yours is saved, as I said. It'll be a little X if you saved it right. Go to the browser and click refresh. All right. So those are the updates. We're not going to change all the Latin. It's just too much work. Okay. All right. Pretty cool. We got text down quickly. We got some basic page layout, right? But it would be really cool to get some links. Now, it's 2:15. The class ends in about a half an hour. We have time for a page or two. So this is what I think I'd like to do. I want to first see what links would look like, and then see if we could make at least one of them live. All right. Go back to your code. Now, when you're putting links on a page, you got to ask yourself where. Sometimes people put a bar down on the left. Used to see that more. Sometimes a very fancy bar that goes across the top. And we, may get a look at that at some point. But right now, I want to mimic that idea. Put our links right up against the ceiling. So in other words, here it says animals. I want the links right above that. So in a sense, the ceiling is the body tag. Could you make room after the body tag? And I want you to join me by writing this. Home, land, sky. Now the idea is I'm starting with 3 simple links. One's going to just take people to the home page, the page we're actually working on. Another one's going to take them to a page about land animals, like us. So it'll talk about mammals and reptiles and insects. Sky, naturally, is going to focus on birds and other bats, that type of thing. So that's the way I would break down a website like this. I want you to save it, though, right away and go to the browser refresh just to see what it's roughly going to look like, right? So you can see this looks like an old school website. you know, the links would just keep on going right across the page. Now, here's the thing though. To make a link work, right, requires a little bit of code around those words. So there's going to be code around the word home. There's going to be code around land and around sky. So I want to show you how we're going to deal with all that code in a neat way. So return to Sublime, and I'd like you to change what you just wrote so it looks like this. Now, I want to prove something to you. I'm doing this because I need to write code to the left and to the right of each of these, and it's going to be easier to read if they're on separate lines. The thing is, you're wondering, well, will that change the way it looks? No. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to come back here and refresh it to prove to you they're still in the same place. That in itself is kind of interesting. It basically means things won't go to the next line unless they're told. Headlines tell the next object to start on the next line. So your H1 did it automatically. Your H3 did it. Paragraphs do the same thing. When you do closing P, it makes a space. There's a little space right after closing P, right after each headline too. Does that automatically, but links don't do that. So right now we're cool, still stacked this way. Let's go ahead and write some links. So back to the code. I want you to go right before the word home, and I want you to copy this as best you can. That's the left side, and this is going to be the right side. The space is very important. A space, href. So it's a little more complicated than the paragraphs, for example, or any of the code that we tried so far. There's A is the tag, then there's a space, and there's this thing called a property, href. That's odd. The property equals something in quotes. Now I'm going to finish this one. This is a finished link, by the way, on line 6 that I have. So A says, I'm a link. There's a space. Href says, this is the page you're supposed to open. And by the way, it's going to look only in that one folder. If you needed to open something from another folder, you have to write even more code to get to the other folder. So we don't want to do that, right? We're going to stay very neat and keep our pages in one folder. So you don't have to mention the folder name, just the exact name of the page itself. Notice on the right, you're only closing the A. That means the link is done. I want you to join me on faith and go to the next line. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Before I finish it, I'm going to do the same thing for sky also. So in other words, I want to point out how repetitive this kind of step is. Once you learn it, it gets kind of easy. I'd only put a space here so you guys could see what I'm doing, just to make it neat. You don't have to do that. So you notice how all 3 links are written the same way. The left side is almost the same. The right side is identical. The thing is, it's the quotes that tell it what page that particular link goes to. We haven't made this page yet, but we're going to. And when we make it, we're going to call it that. land.html. When I make the sky page, I'm going to use the same idea and call it sky.html. I will be talking more about how you can name your own pages, but I will say this much now. 1, keep your names super simple. Simple and obvious, right? You want to be able to remember them, easily, right? Whenever possible, make them one word. Blue sky, that's okay, but sky's better, right? They have to end in .html exactly though, or the browser won't be able to read them. So we got 3 links, even though we have 1 page. I'd like you to save your code, go back to the browser, and refresh it. Now what I'm hoping you're seeing is a couple interesting things. I'm hoping you're seeing the home link is purple, and the other two are blue. Purple in most browsers means this page has already been visited. And subconsciously, your audience is going to know that. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to click the blue one. You know, you might ask them later, why'd you do that? And they'll be like, I don't know. But you have to know. The visited links turn purple. Yeah, that might be ugly when we change other colors. So we're going to need to be able to change it. But now we're working with default. Purple's visited, blue's not visited. If you click one of the other links, it goes to file not found. And then I click the back button and it's still blue because it knows it never visited. Are you guys ready to make another page?
Yes.
All right. Now listen, folks, I want to be very blunt with you. I really do love teaching this, and I have a very specific method. I like people getting to out in the water early. There's preferences and a million speeches I could give you, but they're really kind of meaningless until we all care. Obviously, making the pages link is why the internet's cool, right? So I want to also share with you some tricks about making money. So I just want to share something. This is a group of mixed majors, right? Some of you guys know you're going to be making websites down the road. Some think maybe, right? Depending on, you know, your current set of goals. So I want to say something about selling websites. You know, most of the time, if someone needs a small website, they need a 6-page website, right? Just 6 pages. They want pictures, they want words, they having no e-commerce, so there's no shopping cart. So it's just pictures and words, like your doctor, your family doctor, right? That's all they're gonna have, pictures and words. They want 6 pages. They just want a price. They're not gonna say how many hours you're gonna take. They just want a price, which basically means if you're slow, you make less money. And if you're fast, you make more money. If you could do $1,000 worth of work in a day, right, Kevin? That's cool, right? You want to be fast. If you don't really care about it, you could take 3 weeks and make the same money you'd make delivering pizza. I love pizza, so that's not so bad, right? But I'm going to show you speed tricks, right? Very serious speed tricks. You already learned one, right? And this is the trick. If you knew the website was going to be 3 pages, you would make the links right away on the home page. If you knew it was going to be 10 pages, you'd make the links right away on the home page, even without the other 9 pages being made. Why in the world did you make links to pages that don't even exist? I'll tell you why. Because of copy and paste. If the website's simple, you want to copy everything. Oops. I almost knocked over the dinosaur. Anyway. Doesn't happen every day. All right. You want as much good stuff on the homepage as you can get so you can borrow from yourself. Check this out. So right now we got the homepage. We're about to make the land page. We're just going to focus on land animals, right? Here we go. Go back to Sublime with me. And I want to highlight all the text, right? Can anybody turn on their mic and shout out a shortcut you might have heard to select all? I know some of you know one. Say it
Control
again.
A.
That's right. Control A, all right? Or Command A if you're on a Mac. There's probably a way to do it from the menu. I just never do it that way because it's a universal shortcut. Selection menu, select all. There it is, Command A or Control A. So if you prefer, you could use the selection menu. I prefer you do Command A or Control A. Now we already talked about copying and a few of you are used to that. So if you like shortcuts, and again, they will help you make more money, once it's highlighted, do Command C. By the way, when you do Command C, the edit menu should blink at you. That's letting you know that it worked. It also lets you know that if you hate shortcuts, you could do this. Edit menu, copy. Now, guys, listen, I know I have some experts in here. As I said, I'm asking you to be patient. Some people are new to the computer like I was first day, but they may be experts within a very short amount of time. So about copy. Copy copies to the computer's memory. In other words, it's in RAM, right? So it's not a visible copy like other ways, like in an art program, you could make copies and see them, right? This goes to RAM. It's assuming you might want to paste it into an email, into Photoshop, into Microsoft Word. So we just copied and we're going to paste in a moment. So here we are in Sublime, and we did one document. We need a new page. So I want you to go to the File menu and do New File. Now, this is important because if this is going to be a 3-page website, if we have the time to finish it, we would have 3 tabs up here. And you want to leave them out so you can see what you're doing. And right now it says Untitled. I'd like you to paste. That's Command V or Edit Menu, Paste. Now, we're not ready to save this page because if we did, we'd be very confused because nothing's changed. At least a couple of things have to change for this to be worth it. Now, in my class, we're going to change mostly just headlines for the first couple of weeks because the rest is Latin anyway, right? And we really don't have time to be changing whole paragraphs. So we're going to change just the headlines. So you're on your brand new page, and I want you to be sure you're on the new untitled page. It says, unnamed, unsaved page. Go down to the H1. This is going to be the land page. So I'm going to say here, instead of this H1, which is homepage stuff, general, this is now specific. Person wants to know about land animals. So I'm going to write land animals. Then I'm going to go to the H3 beneath it, be a little bit fancy, and I'm going to say something. I'm going to write mammals, reptiles, insects, etc. Or I don't like etc. in a headline, and more. All right, so you stole all your own code because you already tested it, right? So the home page is where you do the hardest work. If the look's going to be the same on the next page, you borrow it all, you paste it, and you change what's called content. Headlines, paragraphs, photos, videos, right? But the structure's the same. So we just changed just headlines. Now, there's only one name you could save this as to have it work properly. There's only one, right? Because does anyone want to shout it out? Does anyone already know what it is? When we save this,
land.html.
Exactly, and thanks for being so complete, right? It's got to be land.html. And by the way, it has to be lowercase letters because the link is in lowercase letters. This doesn't matter. This is for the audience. This is what they see visually. But this is the code. We're going to stick with lowercase letters to make life easy. So let's save the new page. File menu, save, or Command S, or Control S, and call it land.html. Now I'm hoping that since you saved before successfully, it's already looking at today's folder. But please check always before you save, because if I go to the wrong folder, I'm in trouble, right? So I always have to make sure that I'm in the folder for that one website. So here's land.html, and I'm going to click save. All right. I would like for you to get a look in the folder itself. So I want to say just a couple quick words about that. Why am I asking you to do that? Well, if you're not seeing it in the folder, you know you made a mistake and your link cannot work. It's going to say page not found. And you even see that on the internet because someone on the team moved it out of the folder or they changed its name and it can't be found. So you like to have the folder out. Now, by the way, we're not going to drag it out like we did the first time because I want to test your link. I just want to know that it's there. I want to mention something else though. If we were all on the same kind of computer, I would have you all not view your folder like this or like this. I would have you view it like this. This is called list view because I get the most useful information. I just made a page at 2:30 and that was 1 minute ago, so I know it's got to be right. If it had yesterday's date, I've been saving wildly and things are going to break. In any case, if you saved it, you're seeing it in there, you can go back to the browser and click the land link. Yes. I got a 2-page website so far, home and land, home and land. I want to bring the code in front of you in case it's not working. Now, I want to say something about what if it's not working? What should we be looking at? Hey guys, can I ask you a question? Do you see my code right now?
Yes, we do.
You know why I'm asking? Because I'm looking at all of you right over the code. So it takes some getting used to, but I could do that and you're still seeing what's behind it on my screen. Take some faith, really. All right. So here's the thing that I want to point out. If your link didn't work, you probably made a mistake writing that link twice, right? Because you wrote it the first time on the home page and then copied and pasted it. So if it's not working and we find the error, you have to fix it in 2 different places, right? So here's what I'm trying to say. Let me move this. So the links have to be in the body section. So they have to follow this tag. They can't be above it, but they could be anywhere below it. Next, the left side always looks like this. So this is a dummy link that I'm making, but the left of it always looks like this. And the right side always looks like that. The only thing that changes is what goes in between the quotes. Now, if all that's correct, you should check that you didn't do this. Common mistake. Those are actually 2 words. And the last mistake is you just spelled it wrong. It has to match whatever's in your folder. Okay. Now, I want to do something. Typically, I would walk around the room right now and just peek over your shoulders and I say, like, are you okay? How's it going for you today? And if there's an error, it takes me about a second to fix it. This way, it takes forever to fix it. We go through this whole screen sharing nightmare, and we're going to have to work that out, right? But there's only a few minutes left to class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in one more page, make a fast comment or 2, and then stick around if anybody needs an extra hand from me, right? If you want to make another page, and I'm betting that some of you who look extra happy figured out how to do the next page yourself, which is fine. But if you didn't and you'd like to, I'm going to do it. You could join me. So here's the lowdown. We've got 2 working pages.
Excuse me.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
How come we can't just send the link to you if that's the case?
I don't even know what you exactly mean. Do you mean send me your folder, send me a page, send me 1 line of code?
Oh, so when you said that you would go and check around, wouldn't sending a link also work, or do links not?
No. See, you're not on the internet. This
Oh.
website you're making is only on your computer.
Okay.
But that's a great question. So I'm really glad you asked it because it feels like it should be on the internet right now. And I hope I'm not disappointing anybody. That's a little bit of a bummer. If you're like, I'm calling my friends right after this and showing them what you're gonna need to do later on, and I promise I'll give you some support for this, is get a web address, right? And pay a company a very small amount of money to keep the website online. So we actually have to upload the website to a company called a host. After that, you're live. So we'll work out ways where I could support you. Anyway, right now I know people are anxious to finish this out, so I'm going to do it. We need all the code for either of these pages right now because they're both almost the same. So I'm going to click in this page and do Command A or Control A or just select menu, select all. I'm going to copy with Command C. And I kind of insist that's the best way to do it. Select it all, then Command C to copy. If you must, edit menu, copy. Now, every time you create a new page, you have to create it in the editor, in Sublime. So if this text is copied, then you're in Sublime, you should do File menu, New File. And simply paste. That was Command V. Remember, V is right next to C on the keyboard. Or Edit menu, paste. There's the shortcut. Okay, so our goal right now is to turn this borrowed code into sky.html. So this is an untitled page, and it's going to be sky.html in a minute. So let's change that H1. And I'm going to just say sky animals. Oops. And I'm going to use that H3 to say something a little bit more interesting, or at least be more specific. Birds, insects, and I'm just going to kind of stop there and add and more. I'm not totally sure what that would be. Now the thing is, because the code we borrowed is so complete, everything else is done. In the real world, I'd take out the paragraphs, of course, and put in the new one. But right now, we're good to go. So let's save this page, but it's got to have this name, because currently there's links on both the other pages that are going to look for sky.html, and this page itself is going to have that link. So it's got to be spelled just like this. You pasted your code, you changed the two headlines, now let's save it. File menu, save. Sky, lowercase letters, .html. And it has to go into today's folder to work. Click save. All right, with some luck, we're ready to go. You go back to the browser, click the Sky link, and if that worked, click the other links. Make sure they're all working. Now, I have to wrap this class up at least to the level where people who need to leave can leave. I know some people are taking a class after this, or heading to work, or have to change the baby's diaper, I don't know, whatever it is. Feed the dog, right? So I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to stick around for a couple of minutes, but I just want to say a couple quick things. If your pages are working, your code was neat. If they're not working, maybe you came late today, I'm going to have to review this, and I'm going to be very thorough on Tuesday. But every time I review, I add new stuff. And I rarely review anything that's more than one class ago, right? We got an hour, 40 minutes, twice a week, so I can't overdo review, but I want everyone to get a good start, right? Some people couldn't get Sublime today. There's all kinds of good reasons. And I'm anxious to get us to colors and fonts and photographs and all the stuff that's going to make this awesome. Because really all we need here is at least one photo of the right thing on each page to really make this start to sing. And that's going to come up very, very soon. Okay, so listen, before I sign off, I do want to show you one last thing for people who are, want to move forward on their own a little bit, which is up to you. I have an optional assignment that I laid out, right? Please do not submit it to me. Don't deliver it to me. It's not going to be graded. I have hundreds of students, so I could really only look at the actual assignments, but here we go. So, by the way, everyone, whether you are on time or late, you'll notice here in 3 we got started. It's talking about why you need a folder right away. The folder's critical. And then it goes into talking about the 4 big tags. And it even went on to go over the headlines and the paragraph tag. Thing is, that's a little vague without seeing the code. Notice, by the way, here, it's even got one link. But this is even better. Here's sample code. Now, I didn't include the links on this, right? So it's really just one page of basic laid out text. Simple stuff. On the next handout, I will also have the links included in the dummy text. Now here's the optional project. This will not be graded. So this is really just for people who know they want this skill and they'd like to get a good start on it. So here's the idea. You're going to make a page that's essentially about yourself, right? So the first headline is going to be your first name and your last name, right? So that's going to be big. Joe Smith, right? So you could see how that would relate to what we've been doing today. Joe Smith. Now, the thing about the instructions are, I'm using smaller headlines for a different reason. Here, I'm suggesting H2, right? So it's just a little smaller than the big one. And I'm asking you for 3 separate headlines. One that says, who am I? So it'll be H2, who am I? Close H2. H2, where am I from? Close it. And what do I want? Same thing. Why? Because I want each headline to be followed by a paragraph with the answers. So I wanted to show you something real quickly, what that would look like a little bit. So what page am I on? I'm on the Sky page right now. Right? So this is a little headline followed by a paragraph. So the goal is your name would be the H1. Then there'd be a question followed by an answer with a paragraph, followed by the next question, paragraph. And that's just a good, simple warm-up. So if you read this, I'm sure you could figure this out on your own. I know some people have to go. I am going to stick around and answer questions. I just want to say a farewell to everybody. If that's not enough for you, right, because maybe you're just like, I discovered in one day that I'm gifted and I really need more pages now that I know how to make links. Use your imagination. You know, make up a subject. You know, say what you did today, look it over, and come up with some ideas if you want to practice. Folks, it is 2:43. I already took attendance. If anyone ever has to leave on time and I run late, you take off. I'm not insulted, right? But those of you who are still here, first off, I want to say thank you all for joining me today. It's so much more fun when we're working together, and this is the way my class works. We're always making something cool every day for the rest of the class. Those of you who are still waiting on computers, I really respect your diligence, and I'm willing to advocate on your behalf if the school doesn't come through promptly. Those of you who already have Chromebooks but couldn't join me because Sublime won't load on the Chromebook, right? Feel free to email me if you want to remind me that that's an issue, right? I've already written the boss that we're heading into code today, and I need them to speed up. All right, so folks, I'm going to say goodbye now. Anyone who has got questions for me or just wants to stick around for a couple of minutes is welcome to stick around. If no one has questions for me, I'm also going to leave in a couple of minutes. We do have school next Tuesday. Monday is a holiday, right? Yeah, I think school's closed on Monday. But our class is Tuesday, so I'll see you all Tuesday afternoon. Anybody have a question for me? I thought I heard a question started. Rose, got a
Nothing at the
question or
moment.
statement?
For the practice, can we make it about something other than us?
Absolutely. Rose, can I ask you something? Do you have experience with this stuff already?
I have experience with coding, but it was a completely different language. I think it was JavaScript. I think that's what I had experience with in game coding.
How long ago was that?
It was last year, high school, before, you know, pandemic happened, so I didn't get far.
Gotcha. Not very long ago, though. You're going to say something. JavaScript's much harder. We're going to do a little bit just to get a taste of it. You know, but it's a harder thing. You know, one thing I like about HTML is like you see what you produce like right away. You know, it's an instant reward going on there. And if you are making websites that don't involve elaborate technology, all you need to know is to make them work and make them beautiful. You know, so yeah. Anybody else have a question for me about anything, Aisha?
You're gonna be working with Materialize this semester, or?
Materialize?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. What is it?
Oh, that's how they have like the parallax when you scroll and the image moves, and all of that other stuff. It's
I love
like
parallax.
yeah, it's really easy to implement. When I did a coding program with Whitney, they changed their name. I forgot what it was, and we did HTML and stuff, and like did Materialize is just really simple. It's like I liked it better than CSS because it made it look better with
It's
less
code.
effort. Yeah.
So it's a language.
Not really. It's with Google, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I
So you're
think.
going to say something about just this in general. You know, HTML and CSS are the standard. And one thing I'm going to try to encourage you all, with some sugar on it though, is whenever given the choice to learn a tool, learn the tool that the industry uses most. And look, I want to say something. I'm a fine artist as well as a commercial artist, so I want to be very blunt. As a fine artist, if you were taking a fine art class with me, I would say break every rule possible. They say, for example, painters should use acrylic or oil, but you can't start with acrylic paint and finish it in oil. I have a painting out in the hall here that's 40 years old that broke that rule. It's 40 years old. So in fine arts, I'm going to say break the rules, break the rules. When it comes to commercial art, the key word is commercial, which means you want to make money. So on that front, I'm always going to suggest that learn the cool things on the edges, but learn the main things first. So Google's awesome. Everything Google's awesome. So if they made Materialize, I have to give it a thumbs up.
I'm not sure if it was Google, but I remember that's what they said that most companies do use Materialize for their.
And now I have to look it up after you said that.
Yeah.
But we're going to be using CSS for style, and I hope you like it in my class. I have a very different way of delivering stuff. So sometimes people didn't like when they learned it the first time sometimes, and they're like, wow, this time I just got it. So I'm thinking, let's hope that it goes that way. It's very rewarding, and I may do some style on Tuesday. I really might start that fast. I have to see. This went exceptionally well today. That was quick, you know. Anybody else have questions for me? No? So guys, listen, David, any questions for me?
No.
No, I just noticed your mic was on, so I figured I'd ask. So Rose, David, Shuying, Jason, Diamond, Brandon, Alex, Durson, Emily, Aldo, Isaiah, Kalik. Nice to work with you again.
Thanks, you too.
I'll do that if there's less than 10 people. So, folks, I will see you all on Tuesday. Have a nice long weekend. I hope your other classes that you may have yet to do are rewarding, you know, are openly fascinating, and if not, at least tolerable. I'll see you all on Tuesday.
Thanks. See you next week then.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Also, my bad if I keep turning off my camera. My dog just likes my attention.
Oh, really? You know something?
Yeah.
I love dogs, man. I so don't mind if your dog joins my class.
Yeah, he just likes appearing. Well, you can't see him, but he left right now. Just that he likes coming in my bed in the background, sleeping behind me.
Your dog at some point. So at some point, turn the camera on.
You
know,
will
I gotta tell you
eventually.
something. Like, I don't know about you guys. You're all younger than me, but you know, the quarantine is very loose now, right? We're in this stage 4 thing. So a lot of people are thinking there is no quarantine as long as I wear my mask. That's kind of cool. But most people over 50 and over 60, we're staying home a hell of a lot. So my social life is partially like you guys being human. Like, oh, wow, look, she's in a kitchen. How normal. You know, that's like a big, this one's got a dog, you know?
You know, funny story is that actually I was late. I was late because I was outside earlier. So I was just rushing in. I was actually planning to get food earlier since I haven't eaten anything, but I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I'll just be a little bit late.
Right.
I'll probably get the food,
Well,
but then I
Jason,
realized.
just want to stop right there. Don't be late though.
Yeah, I know.
Cool, but don't be late.
I didn't think I was gonna.
It's very you know, one thing that's causing me trouble this semester, and this is my like 4th or 5th online class. Suddenly this semester, if I don't give you passwords, I have to have a waiting room, and if I don't have both, it creates this weird queue, and I have to admit people separately, and because there were security issues at Zoom. So suddenly I'm having to like do this weird doorman routine that drives me nuts, and I'll fix it, but that's only one of many reasons why I don't want people coming late.
Okay,
Also,
then.
there are days I'll start with something, we 1 minute in the room and we're working. But, you know, anyway, I love your attitude, and I do want to meet your dog. Anyway.
You will eventually.
Good. I'll see you all on Tuesday, unless someone else has something else they want to add.
Thursday, actually.
Right. What is today?
Today's Tuesday.
I got lost. I'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, I get lost
All right.
too.
See you guys.
All right, I gotta go find some meat. Take care. Have a good day.
All right.